All right, let's talk about doing some extrusion of data, making our data 3D that is not naturally 3D data. So here we're looking at 2018 median home values in the District of Columbia. I have excluded some parcels that have 0 median home values, mostly because they are federal government lands. You can see the White House and the Lincoln Memorial, Washington Monument, and the Capitol Building are all excluded. So they're not going to be in this analysis. The other thing you'll note is there are some places where it looks like the landscape is cutting through our data. And you can use this, pull this inner ring here, or you can also hold down the V key and you'll be able to tilt up on your own. But as we zoom in to this area, we have to think about our properties for this data. Right now, if we open up our layer properties, the elevation is set to on the ground because these features generally are on the ground. If we go under our display, and we're going to keep our things, keep our symbols not in real world units for now, since we're just looking at median home value. But when they're on the ground, we can tell it something like, if we just wanted to show that this data sort of floating above the surface, not necessarily draped onto the ground, we can use a cartographic offset, and you can see that was 30 meters, got us up a little bit better. We can go in and fix that if we need to. Since we're going to be making this 3D data, we don't need it right now, or I should say, since we're going to be displaying this map as a going to display our home values as sort of bars on the District of Columbia, we can leave it for now. Okay. So let's start with our making our things 3D. This is all done under the Appearance tab. You have to be selected on the layer. If I'm not on the layer, I'm on the scene name, that feature layer won't pop up. So highlight that layer, go under Appearance tab, under the Extrusion group, there is a type. We are going to set this one to absolute height because we want the specific value of our median home values, and then we want that flat top to reflect each of these census tracts in DC. We then need to go into this drop-down menu and pick the field. So this will be our median home value field. And this unit is set to US feet. And you're going to see that this gives us let's zoom out a little bit, really crazy, uninterpretable data set for median home values. Now, maybe if we were looking across the US and we had everything for all the census tracts or all the counties, we could use this to kind of create those spike maps that we sometimes see of like spikes in home value or population density, whatever you're looking at. But for our purpose, we just kind of want to compare just this one local scene that we're creating. And this data displayed like this is really hard to interpret. You know, we're not getting anything out of the 3D. So I want to show you this expression button. So we can create an expression. And we are basically going to reduce the home values by, all the home values by the same fraction. So just, you can think about just moving the decimal point over. So instead of using 298,000 feet as the multiplier to create that column height, we are going to reduce that. And this takes some guesswork sometimes. I could set it as 0.01, move that over to, let's see what that looks like. We can always verify. This is programming language is arcade that I'm not always super familiar with at all. So I will always check that verify button to make sure I did it right. Go ahead and hit OK. And we can see now we have a much more interpretable surface. We can really start to see some of those peaks and valleys and home prices navigate throughout the map. This one's a bit tricky because of all the vertices are going to give you these green or these gray outputs. Let me just show you. You could, before I get into that, we could change this further if you didn't think this was enough. I think if we do 0.1, it's going to be too much. So let's see what this does. It's still going to be too tall at 0.1, but we'll see. Yeah, so still too big. Still really hard to interpret. So we could try, just see what that difference does. Okay. So we'll stick here for now. Let's see, I do want to... Okay, so let's work on some of these colors. Let's see if we take the outline off, what that does. How does that affect our color scheme? Okay, so that makes, so instead of the sides being all grayed out by the vertices that these lines are being drawn from, we just see the green. We still see a little bit of striping if we zoom in, but it's all one color, so it's a little bit easier to interpret. So I think I'm going to change all of those really quickly. So that looks a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner. What do you think? So even if we are at that directly overhead view, we are still seeing kind of those 3D portions pop up, but as we take it to that oblique angle, we can really see the northwestern parts of the city popping up as high home values. And then we can explore each individual census tract and see the home value here. So almost $1 million. In 2018, the home values were almost $1 million, median home values. All right, so that is some of the custom extrusions you can do.